Thanks for joining us to hear some sea shanties from Geoff Kaufman, Shantymen. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
It's nice
It's
to meet you.
Well, it's nice to meet you as well. How are you all?
good. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. When you see the little microphone in the lower right, click on that to learn more. We're so glad you're here.
You did, by the way, hint that I might sing something.
Yes, yes,
Would you?
we would be so honored if you would sing for
Well,
us.
let's let me do a song that I brought to Clearwater from Bob Zentz from Norfolk, Virginia, uh, and it just seemed to speak to the mission of Clearwater. And I just have my guitar back here.
That's very slick.
So this is called This Old Earth. Fragments of another sunset, ashes of another dawn, drowned in time's immortal ocean. All too soon we may be gone. This old earth has seen a lot of living. This old earth, the story she could tell. This old earth is finished with a giving. This old earth we used so well. And now the playground stands deserted in the yellow afternoon, and the cotton candy children have all gone home too soon, and the tree of knowledge trembles, for the truth was ours before. Will we be like Eden's lovers, driven from the garden door? So what will it take from nature, and what must it take from man for the future generations to save the sky, the sea, the land? This old earth has seen a lot of living. This old earth, the stories she could tell. This old earth is finished with a giving. This old earth we used so well. So we who use the earth must answer, who's to lose and who's to win. And while we're watching where we're going, we must see where we have been. Endangered species and pollution, the dross, the rubble of the dream. And while we all look for solutions, remember we all live downstream. So ask a child what really matters. Ask your friends what they will do. Ask the leaders you've elected, but it really lies with you. This old earth has seen a lot of living. This old earth we've used from end to end. This old earth is finished with a giving. This old earth could use a friend.
That's a beautiful, beautiful, heart-wrenching song.
Yeah.
You brought that with you from your Clearwater experience. About what year do you think that song was written in?
Um, well, probably just a couple of years after the first Earth Day.
Yeah.
Probably it was probably written in 19, I believe 1972.
Geoff, are you still singing? Now, do you still sing with Forbidor? I mean, it's Rick
We
Spencer, you, Craig Edwards, and David Littlefield, right?
No, we haven't been singing as a quartet for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I am currently singing with Dave Littlefield and Joseph Morneau as a new group called Different Tack.
Oh,
So we're going to
nice.
start showing up on the scene as a trio.
That's
I do
awesome.
continue to sing with Craig whenever we have the chance because we have a repertoire that we both love and we really love singing it together. Since I've stepped aside from Mystic Seaport Museum, I've really turned my focus back to that repertoire that came out of the Clearwater.
That's so
And
great. We really need the fisheries and need to take care of them.
Jim Payne
Yes.
from Newfoundland comes to Mystic Seaport and he brings with him a song called Where Do the Capeland Go? And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind singing that one.
Perfect.
I'm pleased.
Because here's a great example of contemporary songwriters taking, and obviously Gordon Lightfoot's telling of that story of the Edmund Fitzgerald is another example of this, but contemporary songwriters looking at what is going on, what is happening,
Mm.
putting that history into song so that in fact that gets carried on. And so someone like me, now probably 30 years after Jim Payne brought this song to Mystic Seaport, I'm still singing this song to try to convince people to understand what is going on in the fisheries of the world.
Wow. And what a great way to communicate. So, yes, please.
Where do the capeland go after leaving their bodies washed up on the beach from bird, fish, and net, trying to stay out of reach? If we could but learn what these silver schools teach about trying to survive in the ocean while we try to live on the shore. Where do the codfish go that once filled the depths of the bountiful sea, took with it livelihoods precious and free, vanished into the jaws of technology? How can they survive in the ocean when we take the last one ashore? Where do the whales go when the capeland and codfish are caught in the chase? What in the water will take their place? Or will all sea creatures have to give up the race of trying to survive in the ocean when we take the last one ashore? Where do the fishermen go when there's not enough fish left to feed families fed our forefathers for 5 centuries? Now life by the water's a fond memory of when fish survived in the ocean and we used to live on the shore.
So this just reinforces, Jody, our direction into veganism.
And here's a sea shanty work song. I know that we're coming close to our hour. We I have a question, Geoff. Is
Yeah,
there a fairly short work shanty that you could sing for us before we get into our final questions?
sure. Well, my my favorites of these are coming from those resources we talked about. So Menhaden, Shantymen, those might be a little long, but the Barely Whalers, for instance, for a rowing song, would use something very simple and very quick, and and it really works well in a whaleboat. I have to tell you, we've exercised it a number of times, and but they're talking about this song is Blackbird Get Up, and then Whitebird. So there's a whitebird and a blackbird in this. The sense is that they're talking both about the blackbird might be the blackfish, the pilot whale, and one of the images that they have is of a blackfish coming out of the water, and just so that, and it's dancing on its tail essentially. But then but we're also talking about the women back home when they get back with the catch, which for them was divided on shore by the people that came down to help get the blackfish up on the beach. Then then everybody was sharing the goods, and then they would of course party, and you can imagine that they know how to do that in Barely St. Vincent. But this is the song that they would sing to row. So, blackbird get up, hi-ya, and she break a tail, hi-ya. Whitebird get up, hi-ya, and she do the same, hi-ya. Oh, Madonna, hi-ya, Emelina girl, hi-ya. Oh, Madonna, hi-ya, girl, come home with me, hi-ya. And it goes on and on.
That's what's great about the work songs, right?
Yeah.
They're simple. Everyone can contribute to them. Very quick to learn, and creative song leaders or shantymen could add verses forever and a day if needed.
And these guys would have to row for hours to get out to where the quarry was, and then row for hours bringing it back. And the stories, we interviewed them at one point, and their stories were incredible. They would do improvisational theatricals where they would each take parts, and they would do that for an hour. It's just
incredible,
phenomenal.
It's really about singing together. And just the music is always so enlightening to me, and when I say enlightening, I mean it informs me, but it also lightens me. When I would go to the pub sings with my knitting and just chant along in the choruses when I knew what to do, I would sit there for 4 hours with nursing a beer or two, and just feel so community tied.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled that the festival is going to happen this year in its new form, in a new place, and with a lot of the same faces, and maybe inviting new faces.
Yeah.
So thank you for all of that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the great things about this tradition is the simple joy of singing, and singing in company with a bunch of people is just a phenomenal experience. And so whenever we have the chance to do it again in person, wherever it might be,
Yes.
I urge both of you to go and sing with everybody.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
The bigger name is Maritime Music and Traditions Society.
Okay.
And if you look that up, you'll come to a website. And eventually, I would say to Lauren that website will begin to accumulate information, and we will begin to put the history of this music in some form, in links and whatever on that website. So
I think that's going to be so cool. Like that to me is so interesting. Like to see how these intersect.
Thanks so much for joining us for some music. Right. Well, thank you. And yeah, I guess fair wins.
Indeed, fair wins.
Thank you for joining us. This is Jody Smits-Anderson and Lauren Stanek co-hosting. And thanks, Geoff, for sharing the music with us.